Hey, what's up, everybody? Pat here, great for recovering alcoholic and addict, just like every day. Guys, please don't forget to subscribe, leave the video a like, drop me a comment, and by all means share with anybody you think might get something out of it. How are we all doing today, guys? Good day today. A busy day today, but a good day. Traffic was a nightmare. They're doing snow removal, and oh my god. I get to sit down and laugh, and it didn't even dawn on me until halfway through the day that I was just acknowledging that, yeah, they're doing snow removal. Traffic's going to be an absolute nightmare. Things are going to take longer. And, I didn't stress out. I just put on a video and listened, not watch it, but listened, listened to videos in my truck and got my work done. I was doing a job for a new customer who had a renter with no heat. And I loved it. The fact that I got to see firsthand how differently I do things in the company I used to work for. I got there, they thought it was going to be a thermostat. Turns out it was a blower motor in the furnace. And the company I used to work for, because blower motors take a little bit of research, particularly it was a Magic Chef furnace. This thing's got to be 60, 80 years old. I knew it would be difficult, but I also knew they didn't have any heat, and we get one of the coldest nights of the year coming tonight. So my clarity, like I have resources today. Instead of just going to the plumbing supply store and trying to have them hunt down this motor that I knew they were not going to be able to do, I removed the blower motor. I went to a electronic motor specialist warehouse here in Medford. It was about an hour ride away. And I just brought it with me, and I walked in, and boom, lo and behold, they matched up the motor. They had it on the shelf. It was half the money they would have charged at the supply house. I did let her know I wouldn't be back right away because I was asked last night if I could open up the meeting today, the Thursday edition of the gratitude group. So I went and met my friend Marlene this morning and got the spare key. And I dropped the motor off, and I went and I opened up the meeting, and I chaired the meeting, so I got to enjoy a meeting today. And I did that, A, because anytime I'm asked to be of service to recovery, I do so. I make that my priority. And B, as booked and busy and as crazy as this week has been, I'm like, you know what, the idea of doing 2 meetings 2 days in a row sounded really good to me. And I'm so happy I did, guys. It was a fantastic meeting. I got a lot of... My good friend Timmy was there. I know him from my NA meeting. He's one of the people I deeply respect. And I know he comes on Thursdays. He's not available to come Fridays when he knows I'm chairing. So I was thrilled to be able to see him today. Got to listen and identify with a lot of my peers today. It was an absolutely fantastic meeting. I went back, I got my motor, went back, put the thing in. Customer was absolutely shocked. She's like, and then she let me know afterwards that she had another company that she had been using, and when she told me some of the stuff that they had quoted her, I was just shocked. I mean, she asked me to come back and fix a small leak on her kitchen sink that wasn't a priority for today, and I was busy. So I looked at it and I said, yeah, I can do that next week, no problem. It's $100. And she's like, oh my God. She goes, the other company wanted $2,500. Like, oh my God. And then when she told me with the heating system, she goes, oh, well, they had already warned me that if there was any problem with that, they'd have to replace the entire system. Yes, it's an older system. It's incredibly simple, and it's working beautifully. Like, I made great money on it, and she's absolutely blown away, thrilled with it. Like, it's not hard to do the right thing, guys, and make a big difference in the world today. And it's why I'm succeeding. I'm not doing it on the back of anybody else's bullshit, but I'm doing it and I'm treating my clients the way I treat my recovery, like a fair, compassionate. Guys, I'm making like literally 500% more money than I've ever made in my life. I mean, it's not. I don't know anybody that started a small business that has saved the amount of money that I have this year. Like, that's a measure of success. I don't know how else to look at it. And I charge less and I do more. Like, come on, it's not hard, guys. And, you know what? Like, it's just because of my recovery, guys. I practice these principles in all of my affairs. I take these lessons to heart. And I understand that when I took that first step, right, when I admitted that my life became powerless, I didn't just say it this time. I understood that there was an action step, and it meant there was a lot of action that needed to be taken with that, and that's what we're going to talk about today, guys. The title of the reading today, the Just for Today NA meditation, is The First Step, an Action Step. So the first step, an action step. Do we understand that we have no real control over drugs? Yes, I certainly do. At first, many of us may have thought that the first step required no action. We just surrender and go on to step 2. But step 1 does require action. The action we take in the first step will be evident in the way that we live, even from our very first day clean. If we truly believe that we are powerless over our addiction, we will not choose to be around drugs, to continue to live with or associate with practicing addicts may indicate a reservation in our program, meaning you end up using again. An absolute belief that the first step applies to us will ensure that we clear our homes of all drugs and paraphernalia. As time goes on, we will not only continue with the basics, but add new actions to our first step. I'll talk about afterwards. Add new action to our first step repertoire. We'll learn to feel our feelings rather than trying to control them. We'll stop trying to be our own and only guides on our recovery journey. Self-sponsorship will cease. We'll begin looking to a power greater than ourselves more and more for spiritual satisfaction rather than trying to fill that void with something else. Surrender is only the beginning. Once we've surrendered, we need to learn how to live in the peace that we have found. The affirmation is just for today. I will take all the action necessary to practice the first step. I truly believe it applies to me. And guys, again, these lessons blow me away all the time, and I get to see how they apply. And my first thought when I thought of this is, again, and just I'd love to share, and I hope you guys just see the correlation and see how it works. So when I read this, my first thought was, oh, well, okay, when I first got out of rehab, and again, keep in mind, when I went into rehab, I'm thinking spin dry, 3 to 5 days, come out, go back to work, and just put down the drugs and live that same miserable existence that I was plugging and plotting my way through, because at the time, I didn't know there was something better waiting for me, right? That's where prayer and meditation come in, guys. And because I started honestly doing the work, and I finally did listen the entire month that I was in rehab and took the lessons and spoke openly, and even though I was, cracking up and joking up constantly, and it was difficult, but I did, because I knew it was important. I had to do this. And again, I only identified all that by turning my will over to God, by praying, by asking for help, and then acknowledging that He was helping me, by showing me the information that I needed to learn, right? So, as soon as I get out, my very first and here's the thing, guys, right up until the day I left, I thought I was coming back to go to work. I wasn't even out of the parking lot of the rehab, and my boss called the person that was driving me, my former boss, and laid on the spiel, trying to guilt me into coming right back, and I'm like, whoa, and the ick, that's what I mean, the ick I talk about all the time. God, because I was tapped into God, I saw danger, skull and crossbones. I'm like, no, this just feels off. I was running this guy's company for a fraction. Yes, I was getting high, and yes, I made mistakes, but I was still doing a hell of a lot more than he was, and this is the appreciation I'm going to see. You're trying to guilt me into coming back before I even get out of the parking lot. And I told him straight up, I'm like, no. I'm like, listen, I got to go get signed up for my IOP. I got to get my doctors. I got a lot of stuff. I'm like, I'll be back sometime next week, because I had told him I was going to come back. But boom, right from the bat. And I sat with that, and I'm like, I can't go back there. I can't. Those guys are doing cocaine and drinking during the day, and guys smoking pot in the truck all day. And again, I got nothing against anybody who smokes pot, but I have to learn sobriety. And this is a year ago when I was really, really green, really fresh. But again, because I was working my first step, and I had come to believe that I could not manage my life. I could not deal with drugs. I could not use in safety. My life becomes powerless under the control of drugs. I was powerless to manage drugs in my life in any way, shape, or form. I knew I had to take action with that first step by removing myself from those situations. So I did. I stayed out for 5 days, got myself centered, got my recovery program, went to my first meeting, and I spoke openly at that meeting. And that solidified for me. I'm terrified. I know in my heart I can't go back to this job, but they're expecting me, and I'm worried about it. And I spoke on that Friday, and I was going back on Tuesday of the following week by that Friday, I said, no, I have to go to my meeting. I got out of work early, and I went, and boom, all the people from the meeting were like, hey, how are you? You okay? Have you made it through the week? You're still doing good? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, but I got to give my notice. And it was the following Monday that something happened with the pickup truck. And I'm like, dude, that's it. Like, this is my notice. And he's like, well, what do you mean? What are you going to do? And I've talked about this a million times. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I can't do this. I have to put my needs first. I got to put my recovery first. This is not a place and I didn't belittle him. I didn't make him feel bad. I just told him this is something I needed to do and left it at that. He thought I'd come running back with my tail between my legs. But I knew I wouldn't because I was taking my first step action, understanding that my life is unmanageable in the presence of drugs. And that means, and I proved that again when I came home that night. My first thought from the rehab, my first thought was, let's get all this paraphernalia and all this drugs clean out of the apartment because I don't want it laying around. And boom, an hour later, I'm taking a hit of crack that I found on this desk right here. And again, I'm like, oh my God, I just lost my month, right? And guys, my first thought was, well, I can go to that meeting tomorrow and I can still get my chip, my 30-day chip. And I'm like, no, I can't. Because I was tapped in with God. And then what? God doesn't see it? I'm not a fake Muslim and thinks, when you go to a different country, God isn't watching, right? No, God sees all, guys, right? Like, don't fool yourself. And somebody spoke on that today, and I was so proud of her. There's a girl getting her 30-day chip at the meeting today. And she's like, you know what? I've got many 30-day chips. And she had tears in her eyes as she said it. She goes, but this is the one that's mattered because it's the first honest, real chip I've gotten outside in the real world. Not in the CSS, not in a rehab. And man, I identified with that because I remember at the same time, this time around when I got my 30-day chip, I thought the same thing. It's not getting out of 30 days of rehab and getting that 30-day chip and being medicated and everything the whole time. No, every chip I've gotten this time around, I've actually earned. And I love that. And then furthermore, right, I added more action to my first step when I think I was 4 months in or 5 months in. I know 4 months, as a matter of fact, when my appendix burst. And I ended up in the hospital, in the emergency room, looking at emergency surgery. And the nurses were very kind, and I was being very polite, but I was in agony, guys. It was brutal. Even the doctor's like, Jesus, this is bad. And it ends up, it wasn't just appendicitis. My appendix actually burst. I was going septic. It was leaking in my body. Incredibly painful. And they're like, and I told them, I said, listen, I'm an addict. I'm on Sublocade. I cannot be given any opiates. And they're like, no, we're going to give you morphine. We can override. I don't know what they did. I didn't let them get that far. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, no. And I had to sit with that, guys. And it wasn't just that conversation. It was literally, I had to advocate for myself in every room that they moved me through, from CT scan to, from triage to diagnosis to CT scan to pre-surgery, like even up at anesthesia for surgery. I had to advocate again and pull the doctor's side and said, listen, what are you using for anesthesia? And he started telling me, and he's like, oh, it's a mix of this, that. And I'm like, you just said opiates. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, no. I'm an addict. He's like, oh, but you don't understand. I've refused to pain meds all day. I've taken nothing more than a Tylenol because I'm terrified. I cannot be given drugs. I've done all this work to get myself sober, and I know now that once those drugs hit my system, all bets are off. I don't know what's going to happen. And I'm not willing to take that risk because I've done too much work to be in sobriety and to have some control. The second you administer those drugs, I don't know. I lose control. That monster in the back of my head may wake up. And yeah, I might get through the surgery, but you're going to send me home with a bottle of Perks that are going to be gone in 5 minutes, and I'm going to be calling and looking for dope. And I'm like, no, for once in my life, I understood that first step requires action. If my life becomes unmanageable in the presence of drugs, I cannot be in the presence of drugs. I don't go to places where people use. I don't go to bars. I don't go, I drive through Delania Cass and I encourage people and I give $1 here and there, but I don't get out of my truck and go walking down the street and hang out with these people. Like anybody that was part of my old life, I had to let go. Guys, there's a new life waiting for you in recovery, but it's going to cost you your old one. And that's an easy give up. Recovery is so much better, and I'm not saying it's easy. I'd listen to people in the meeting today that are struggling. My good friend Patty, his truck broke down, his work is slow, it's the winter time. People deal with life and life turns. My friend Marlene with her mother passing away, and just people deal with brutally hard things in recovery. Life goes on. Life is still got to be life. Death and taxes still exist, right? But we can do these things. Every one of us can do anything that's asked of us. Like, God will not give you more than you can handle. You might not think you can handle it, but at the end of the day, that's one thing people are remarkable at my strength. It's just because I've been put through so much and I've survived it. Like, I've been through things I swore there's no possible way I was going to survive. Over and over and over and over again, to the point now where I'm not really, I have a healthy amount of fear with certain things, but like not a lot of the regular stuff, because I know God's been with me all along and He's got me through things that I know I couldn't do, right? And I listen to people going through these things, and it's one thing I can tell them. Said, listen, part of it is you got to rise above. You've got to keep that positive attitude. You have to look for the lessons and things, because unfortunately, life is in a way. And this is two different things here. If you're finding the same things happening over and over again, then aren't just a natural part of life. Family sicknesses and cars break down and slow seasons and fast seasons. Like, these are part of life, right? But if you're, like I was, constantly trying to manipulate the outcomes to situations and it's not working, you got to stop and look at your behaviors and realize you're not surrendering. You're not taking first step actions. Like, if I were to go, hang out in the corner with guys slinging dope all day and then wonder why I couldn't get away from the dope, like, I'm not taking my first step actions. I'm not removing myself from situations. And that's one thing I've done very well, guys. I have a very high sense of detachment. I have an ability to let things go because I've had everything that ever mattered to me taken away from me over and 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 over, to a point that, like, I'm shocking people now by building stuff because people don't understand how I still have the strength to go on. I don't. God's given it to me. I've invited a unending power greater than myself into my life, and I'm renewed with it every day. Guys, I can't stress it enough. You've got to work the program, and if you're really struggling with things that are within your control, turn them over to God and work the program harder. Things will get better. Now, again, if we've put things in front of us from our past behaviors that we have to make amends and we have to go through our accountability for, then okay, it's going to take some time. I had to do the same thing, guys. I had to face legal repercussions. I had to go face fines and things I couldn't do. And again, but because I looked for the lessons, like, because if I would go sign up for a corporate job anywhere, I'd get laughed out of the building with my criminal record. I couldn't get hired at McDonald's. So again, there's ways around. So I looked at that and I said, well, what can I do? Oh, I can work for myself because I don't do a criminal background on myself. I'm fully aware of my criminal background. I'm also fully aware of my good heart. And that forced me to go open my business. And now I'm thriving. This is what I mean by, guys. You gotta look for the lesson. You gotta look for that. There is always a solution to everything, unless it's a parent dying or something to that effect. And then there is a solution. Be there for them. Let them know that you appreciate everything they've always done, just like my friend's doing. Guys, the program is beautiful. Life is tough. It's supposed to be. We're tougher, right? Every one of us that has beat the devil, has gotten over addiction and alcoholism, is tougher than anything that's going to come down the road. Wear your shit like a cape, man. Wear it as a badge of honor and understand that you've already survived things most don't. Nothing can stop you from thriving if you work your program, if you have conscious contact with your higher power, if you invite God into your life and you turn out and you just come from a perspective of being that best version of you. I'm so happy I found that. I'm so happy I offered it to God and I was willing to put myself out here online because I've invited blessings into my life that I never dreamed were possible. You can do the same, guys. Find your path, work your program. Always understand that surrender is an action step. It's not something you say. It's not just something we say. It's something we physically do, and it requires some hard decisions, but every single one of them will pay off in the end. I promise you they will. Guys, that's the video for today. Thank you so much for being here with me. Always remember, God loves you. I love you. We'll see you in the next one.